right, thanks so much. Our next reader is Kathleen Winter. Kathleen Winter is the author of 2 poetry collections, I Will Not Kick My Friends, which won the Elixir Poetry Prize, and Nostalgia for the Criminal Past, both of which we have available for sale. Her poems have appeared in Tin House, The New Statesman, Agni, New Republic, Poetry London, Gulf Coast, and other journals. Please welcome Kathleen Winter.
Thank you so much. It was so great to hear Jess, and I'm really excited to hear Lon. And I want to thank Malvern for having us all read tonight. When I was out at the Dobie Paisano Ranch in 2015, I got to read at Malvern, and I loved it, and it's really exciting to get to be back, so thank you. I just want to thank a few people who've been incredibly supportive of my writing. Kurt Heinzelman, the poet and UT professor, and Bob Wolfkill, fabulous poet and also associated with the Dobie Paisano Ranch program, and my dear friend Allison Mosley, who the book is dedicated to, and my fabulous brother Raymond Winter. So, is the sound okay? You're fine? Okay, cool. So, the book I'm going to read from is a fairly new book. It was published in February, and it has a lot of ekphrastic poems, so poems that were written about other writing, other artworks, and music sometimes. So I want to start with one of those that is set out in County Kerry in Western Ireland, and it has a word in here that it's a Celtic word, skellig, for rock. So that'll come into play. There are a lot of saints that ended up coming into this book of poems somehow. So this is one of those saint poems. Saint of Labor. I met a man who won't make money. Extreme. He peels away from the medium, like a soaked label leaving it. Listener in this space of bottomless story. What part was real, what part imagined, is past, almost past knowing. Wind of hay rising 100 yards in the sky. Ghost coach, coursing the lake's edge on a wooden road after Maylight leads away to sea. Eels of light ribboning. 1,000 years later, they burned the ancient handmade roads, dug them up into fire, cremating. How many hours, how many lives of labor? I watch fire tearing sunwise after dark. This man must be still to breathe. Hear sheep bleat out to the Skellig peaks. Long work he does to be idle. Figure how to make the sea's faces on paper. Among visitors in ruined cottages, we're the ones whose stained fingers speak the same solitude. I know a lot of you all are poets, and so you know a found poem, but for the lawyers in the crowd and other non-poets, a found poem is when you take a piece of writing from basically any context, and you just take the language and reshuffle it and remake it into your own piece of writing. And so you can do it to anything, you know. People do it to recipes, people do it to pages from government documents, from the Bible, from the Quran, etc. Basically, advertising text, whatever. So this found poem is from another poem which was written by Arthur Rimbaud, the French poet who was a teenager at the time that he wrote his poem. His poem was called Bad Blood, and this is called Bad Blood 2, a review, and it's a movie review. Literally a horror. I've known clumsiness and flavors and scorchers, but theirs I find barbarous ineptitude, a sacrilege to the trade. All hands liars, sons of good families, but in fighting, lazier than the toad. The master criminals' blue-white hair and gallant domesticity, their idolatry, sickens me. I don't care. Narrow skulls, disgusting clothes. What beasts? Honestly, families like that owe everything to lust, magnanimous plow, using the body for a living, butter on the tongue. But oh, my pen is intact. Perfidious indolence is grass. Only a base age of beggars, like my own, could declare this castration magnificent, I never shall. So the book is divided into 4 sections, and they're roughly grouped, poems are grouped thematically. They tend to be pretty varied in form, but the first section has poems that have something to do with movies, and so I'll read another poem from that section because my brother Ray requested it. And this is one of the few poems in here that actually is written about a true story. So like Jess was saying, yeah, most of the poems are not. They're sort of made up or, completely untrue, which is, I think, quite fun, right? To write those untrue poems. But this is a poem that's set in Pleasanton, which is a little town south of San Antonio. And it's called Screenplay for a Homemade Movie. My cousin and his wife married their next door neighbors. This is as romantic as Pleasanton gets. First each other, then after 8 years, a couple of divorces. Like bowling alley mechanics. After the smashes, everything's set up again. Same houses, different spouses. For a while, it was awkward at the grocery, at the hardware store. But my cousin's wife is happier now. She's a whole different person. Pleasanton's best had hives about the hanky-panky, but after the neighbors remarried, the town forgot the starting lineup, gave its blessing to 2 sets of newlyweds. My cousin's next-door neighbor's wife is happier now. She hears my cousin only if 2 windows are open, and the ravens pause in bringing on the triumph of their small, shrill song. So I can tell when people get it. It's like sometimes harder to get that joke when you hear it instead of read it. And so let's see. I want to switch to a different section now. We just had an election. I was going to wear my Beto shirt, but it was dirty because I've already been wearing it too much. So, but I will read a poem or 2 that. Come to my mind right now because of the time we're in and what we've been hearing about, talking about collectively. And so this is a poem about immigration in a way, which has been much on my mind. But it's a book about, it's a poem about Freud and the difficulty that he had trying to immigrate out of Austria after the Nazis had taken over. And, So he tried to get both himself and all his family, extended family out, which was quite difficult for him since the Nazis had already confiscated all his money. So he managed to get himself and most people out with help, a lot of help, but it took quite a while. So this poem is called Freud Before Bed. That anyone, for being Jew, should have to flee. An airplane's boom, plume of white noise. Freud before bed makes for mean sleep. That scene of gone, piercing the hide, fever in the jaws of animals. That a man who thought so well should have to wait so long. Discontented with the smell of radishes, I am no old European, but I hear you. Keen, shrill train whistle of conscience. There's regret and indigestion, bad translation. There's a strict modernism, shadow-winged with sound, that persists, conflicted, flies from itself. Thank you for beauty, for your love of it, for keeping it at hand. America, what are we doing here? Our nation is too loud and proud of its drained favors. And then, let's see, another one of these, what I think of as political poems. I can't really write like kind of poems that are extremely directly about anything. For some reason those never work out, but this is kind of as close as I come to writing about politics. It's another one of these saint poems that somehow cropped up in here. It's called Dreamland Saint. See this saint from dreamland slumming with us where every limb sweats, mercury rising, fruit baking in its bowl on the drain board. Polio, Ebola, and fresh new diseases in desiccated Eden. The neighborhood, a locus of explosions. Our nation now, the nation of murderous event. Unlicensed carrying on. Unexceptional, our state of war. How does violence vibrate in her cranium? Tuned to ocean, birdsong, intricate chant and caverns of 7-second reverberation, cathedrals of empathy whose marriages all thrive, like headland redwoods bathed in a cycle of sunlight and fog for centuries. Dreamland saint, appear to our electorate in fall, replace the suits on news screens, fill our representatives with joy, humble, as though they could make a durable good. How are y'all doing? Good.
Good.
So a lot of these poems are located away from home for me, like in different places where I've gone to be with other poet friends and to be with my family, travel and whatnot. But this is a poem that's set in California, close to where I live. I live in Sonoma County, and there's a winery that is in Napa County that's called the Hess Collection Winery, and it has an art gallery adjacent to it. It's kind of cool, I think. You know, it has this small art gallery. It's 3 stories, mostly contemporary art. Has sculpture, has paintings, some pretty good work in there. And so I wrote this poem after having visited there. And there's a reference to Bacon, so that's the oil painter Francis Bacon. And then there's a reference to Tesla, and it's the original Tesla, who was, you know, the inventor and the engineer and person who came up with all these amazing genius ideas. And so the one who, of course, the car company is named after. So this poem is called Explanation. So long, so be it long and vague, even dazzling in its vagueness. The face of a cliff disintegrating, face of a faux cliff, art cliff, white cliff of Dover stone made by an artist collective, hung in a winery gallery. High on the wall, all the way low on the wall of the high ceiling gallery, white leviathan of fabrication. Cliff face of polyurethane and paint, appearing to disintegrate, like the figure's face in Bacon's painting upstairs in the gallery. Vicious blur in an armchair. No, you cannot drink here. I would go on, but the alarm does not allow. I would to what she said about not dazzling, the dazzling implying light and crystalline, implying blinding, bowed to, valorized. In the carnivorous expanse of Jim show an infinitude of teeth so long, a shining of prismatic knives, new, hard, sharp, vertical. But the alarm, so be it. I can't rise beyond the second floor, where Bacon's bloated figure sits and swings his polychrome disintegrating face from side to side so fast the features blur. Or else his head spins on a pole of neck, so quick the features smear and drip, becoming faceless, vague. He tried to console me, dazzling as tinsel, but in my mind I see the grainy black and white of Tesla under his transformer's flaming wings, dazzling, radiant, vague. So I just have a few more to read for you guys, and I was trying to think of some I haven't read in a long time, because that's always kind of fun, for me at least. And so I will read one of these that Kurt's just heard, but I'm going to read it again. So this is a poem that combines reading about a number of different things that I just wanted to somehow put into this poem together. So it's kind of collagey. So bear with me on that. But it combines Mitt Romney and his bid for president and some things that went down with that, and also neuroscience and also the Syrian war. So all that stuff's kind of all mixed in here. And it's called Receptive Fields of Single Neurons in the Cat's Striate Cortex. Start from being driven, cats on their pedestals of fur and bone, to striate structures of the cage. Livery, say plates of limousines, delivering industrialists to fundraisers across a bridge. I could have gone to Detroit, but I struck out on my own, to buy a $100,000 horse, ride off of 3 legs and half the torso. Take apart a human. You have teeth and glasses, a skull cap, plastic bag of calcium, sand. Over those empty shoes, see a ghost of the body. My father rode a bicycle before his face was permanently gone. Saved in this idea I call my heart. Science thought it legitimate in 1959 to flash a cat's eye fierce with points of light as needles tracked the V1 region of its brain, first stage of the visual cortex. We want to know precisely how to see. Among a trash of animals, discovery was accident. One cat's brain excited by straight lines, by angles. What does he care, the candidate, a wishful type of general, for events of war at the levels of cells and limbs? Your panting will kill you if they hear it. From a forest at the edge of town, you listen as soldiers finish your friends with knives, with points of light. Companions, we have to get past being man. There are people who go into war zones and they are so powerful they carry only cameras. So I want to leave you with one that's a little bit more so this is the last one that I'll read, and it's in the film section. It was inspired by film noir, and so it's called Noir. All the animals in the garden knew the score. Rat knew, even gnat knew. Snake was telling me what to do. Snake whispered, he lisped. He said I was an ignorant bimbo. He said I was expendable, a rib. Snake was a reptile, and he was a pigeon, too. He offered me the apple. What could I do? Thank you.